So, good morning, classmates. Our topic is all about the Fisheries Administrative Order number 184 series of 1992. Pursuant to Section 10 of the Presidential Decree number 1219, otherwise known as Coral Resources Development and Conservation Decree, and Section 4 of Presidential Decree number 1698, the following guidelines on the experimental collection, gathering, or harvesting of precious and semi-precious coral in the Philippine waters, and hereby promulgated for the information and guidance of all concerned. So, the Presidential Decree number 1219 and Presidential Decree number 1698 is the following. This is the Presidential Decree, whereas the following guidelines on the experimental collection, then they are gathering or harvesting of precious and semi-precious coral in our Philippine waters. Then, Section 1, Definition of terms for all the purpose of this order. The following terms shall mean: person includes natural or juridical persons. Natural, which is the ordinary persons, and the juridical person, which is in the highest position. Coral consists of small anemone-like organisms belonging to phylum Colenterata, which secrete their own skeletons of various forms that may be hard, stony, and horny, and shall be include the following. So the coral is nagkonsist na og small anemone like organisms belong to phylum Colenterata, and mugawa siya og own skeleton that forms into hard, stony, and horny. So under the coral, there are two types of corals: the precious and semi-precious coral. Precious coral, skeleton of Anthozoan Colenterata, characterized as having a rigid axis of calcareous or horny spicules belonging to the genus Corallium, as represented by the red, pink, and white corals. Semi-precious coral, skeleton of Anthozoan Colenterata, characterized as having a rigid axis, as represented by red, pink, and white corals. So, ang precious and semi-precious coral, which is nasalay kaparehas. Ang kaparihan niya is nag-characterize sila as represented by their red, pink, and white corals. And then, ang di kapareho nila is kanang, ang precious is nagbelong siya sa genus Corallium. Then, ang semi-precious is naara siya skeleton of Anthozoan, which is wala ang semi-precious coral. Then, C. Experimental collection, gathering precious and semi-precious coral in Philippine waters to know its source and abundance and the appropriate technology for extracting the same. So, ang experimental collection is nagathered siya sa precious and semi-precious coral in our Philippine waters na para mahibaw-an nato og unsa ka abundant ang appropriate technology for extracting the corals. Department refers to Department of Agriculture. Bureau refers to the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. Secretary refers to the Secretary of Agriculture. Director refers to the Director of the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. So, ang director mo na head sa tibuok Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. Section 2, we are qualified to apply. So, the Filipino citizens or corporation, at least 70% of the capital stock of which is owned by the Filipinos. So, ang mga Pilipino na is 70% ng capital stock, which is sa ato. Must have technical and financial capability to undertake the operations of experimental collection of precious coral. Must not be a previous permittee. Section 3. Requirements for filing an application for a special permit. Submission of letter of application with the director accompanied by a project proposal on the experimental collection of precious and semi-precious corals containing the technical, financial, and monitoring aspect of project. So, when it comes to submission of letter of application, which is the director accompanied by a project proposal which is for the experimental collection sa mga precious o semi-precious corals nag-contain og technical, financial, and monitoring aspect of the project. Payment of an application fee in the amount of 100,000 which shall not be refundable. Presentation of proof availability of vessel to be used such as certification of ownership or proposed lease contract of the vessel. And then section 4, selection of applicant. The application of the for the special permit shall be evaluated on the basis of technical, financial, and monitoring aspects of the proposal to be submitted by the applicants. Section 5, terms and conditions of the permit. Only one vessel duly licensed by the Bureau may be allowed in the coral gathering operation. So, only one vessels lang ang allowed for the coral gathering operation. The vessel to be used shall be the Philippine Registry. However, if a foreign vessel is to be used, prior clearance from government agencies concerned must be first obtained. At least one Filipino coral biology expert on the board vessel must be employed, but additional foreign consultants may be hired in accordance with the law. The ABFAR shall detail counterparts who shall be on board during collection trips to monitor the gathering activities. The objectives, work plan, collection methods such as described in the approved technical proposal must be observed. The total volume of precious and semi-precious corals that may be allowed to be gathered in the course of experimental collection. The total period of permit shall be determined by the DAB4. After analysis of the necessary data, the experimental collection of the precious and semi-precious corals shall commence only after this volume has been determined and approved by the Secretary. So, ang total volume sa precious and semi-precious corals is allowed to be gathered in the course of experimental collection sa usa ka corals. Then, nagdetermine pod sa DAB4. After sa analysis sa necessary data, kanang the collection of precious and semi-precious corals is determined and approved by the Secretary. Periodic reports by the permittee in accordance with the technical proposal must be submitted. The DAB4 shall be furnished with all technical data including photographs and videotapes taken in the course of the experimental collection. So, ang DAB4 when it comes to technical data na kailangan sila og photographs and videotapes to be taken in the course of the experimental. Then, the operation of experimental collection shall be reviewed at the end of every quarter and may be cancelled if any terms of permit violated. So, the operation of experimental collection dapat siya i-review at the end of the year, at the end of every quarter. And maybe makancel siya if any terms nga ma-violate. Then, Section 6, Methods of Collection. The experimental collection of precious and semi-precious corals. The use of scuba or hookah scaphandra equipment for the collection of semi-precious corals. So, when it comes to collection of semi-precious corals is kanang magamit sila og scuba and or hookah. The use of mini sub or submersible in the collection of precious corals. Okay. Section 7. Duration of speed permit. The special permit shall be issued by the Secretary upon the recommendation of the Director for a period of 1 year to subject the renewal for another year if the continued experimental collection is required to complete the research. So, ang special permit ay dapat issued po na sa Secretary upon sa recommendation sa Director for a period of 1 year to renew for another year if mo-continue ba ang experimental collection para ma-required to complete the research. Section 8. Activities to be undertaken on the board the coral gathering vessel when applicable. Site location, video load transects, fixed locality making, selective selection. So, moon ni siya ang mga activities nga mo undertake on the board coral gathering vessel when applicable. Then, Section 9. So, mo insert si Judy Malicade for her report. So, thank you for listening.
Section 9. Volume of corals that may be gathered. A. After analysis of the data gathered, the DAB4 shall recommend the volume of precious and semi-precious corals that may be gathered within a particular area previously surveyed. B. Controlled collection or gathering of such corals shall be observed by the permit with a period of 1 year only at a designated area covered by the study following the recommended method of collection and the weight or volume of the corals as approved by the Secretary. Section 10. The inventory of corals collected. While the experimental phase is in progress, all collected specimens shall be inventoried by the DAB4 to be kept under the custody of the permit in his main office in Metro Manila to enable B4 to readily make an on-the-spot check of the specimen prior to final processing of the said corals into finished products. Section 11. Processing of corals. Processing of corals shall be done after the completion of the 1 year experimental phase and the following re-inventory by the DAB4. Section 12. Exportation of finished product. The permit shall secure a commodity clearance from the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources or its duty authorized representative after an application therefore has been filed in an application form prescribed for the purpose at least 3 days prior to its exportation. An application fee of 100 pesos and the permit fee of 1,000 shall be collected. Section 13. Ground for suspension, revocation, or cancellation of permit. The permit may at any time be suspended, revoked, or cancelled by the Secretary or any of the following grounds. First is for violation of any provision of this order and/or the terms and conditions of the permit. Fraudulent or false or misleading statement made by the applicant or permittee or when public interest so requires. Section 14. Penal clause. Any person gathering precious or semi-precious corals without any permit shall upon conviction be punished by the imprisonment of not less than 6 years or a fine or not less than 6,000 pesos or both at the discretion of the court. Any person exporting precious and semi-precious corals in the violation of Section 9 of Presidential Decree Number 1219 shall upon conviction be punished by the imprisonment of not less than 30 days nor more than 3 years or fine or not less 3,000 pesos or both at the discretion of the court provided that the penalties herein prescribed shall be without prejudice to the confiscation of the government of the corals illegally gathered together with the vessels, that gear, and paraphernalia used therein. Confiscation shall also cover attempted illegal exportations of corals. Section 15, Repealing Clause. All administrative orders, rules, and regulations or parts thereof which are inconsistent with the provisions of this order are hereby repealed or amended accordingly. Last is Section 16, Effectivity. This order shall take effect 15 days after its publication in the Official Gazette and or 2 newspapers of general circulation. That's all, and thank you.